On July 1st, the US announced it would not renew the USMCA in its current form. Across the Atlantic, the EU and US saw their Turnberry Trade Agreement enter into force, while the EU introduced new non-preferential rules of origin. Meanwhile, the US Commerce Department is launching a national security investigation into coal imports that could lead to new tariffs. Today's briefing covers pivotal developments across North America, Europe, China, and the World Trade Organization.
Welcome to This Week in Trade, bringing you a quick roundup of the latest international trade news and analysis from Goida Limited's director George Riddell and the Geneva Trade Platform.
We begin in the United States, where the government has declined to renew the USMCA in its current form, the agreement between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, though agreement remains in force during ongoing discussions. The US will hold a third round of bilateral talks with Mexico the week of July 20th, while Canada plans to use the review to address US tariffs affecting its steel, initiating its annual review of country eligibility under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, which is set to expire at the end of the year without congressional action. A public hearing is scheduled for July 23rd. In a move that could lead to new tariffs, the U.S. Commerce Department has launched a Section 232 national security investigation into imports of anthracite coal. Focuses on anthracite and metallurgical bituminous coal products, which are critical for domestic steel production. Commerce is seeking public comments on issues relating to domestic demand, production capacity, the impact of foreign government subsidies, and predatory trade practices. Turning to China, on June 29th, EU Trade Commissioner Šefčovič met with Chinese Commerce Minister Wen Tao. They agreed to launch a new EU-China trade and investment consultation covering trade rebalancing, export controls, intellectual property, and WTO reform. While this platform signals a willingness to keep dialogue open, it does not preclude the possibility of renewed trade disputes or defense measures. Similarly, the UK and China held their 15th Joint Economic and Trade Commission on the 2nd of July. They reviewed a joint feasibility study for a bilateral trade and services agreement and reviewed market access barriers, WTO reform, and rare earth export controls. They also agreed to establish a matchmaking platform and a trade booster program to support UK exports to China. Separately, Chinese Ministry of Commerce has added 20 Japanese entities to its export control list, citing their contribution to enhancing Japan's military capabilities. In Europe, the EU-US Turnberry trade deal entered into force on July 1st, removing remaining EU tariffs on US industrial goods and establishing new safeguard and suspension mechanisms. In new regulatory developments, amended EU non-preferential rules of origin took effect also on July 1st. This procedural change allows for the use of electronic certificates of origin issued in the ELAN system. Additionally, for goods originating in the United States, there is a new requirement for proof of direct transport or non-alteration to apply adjusted customs duties and quotas. The EU's forced labour single portal has also just been published with a host of new resources, which include guidelines on voluntary due diligence and coordination among EU authorities. The EU also set its Q2 Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CBAM price, at €70.28. Norway and Iceland aim to apply the mechanism from the 1st of January 2027 to create a seamless carbon border regime across mainland Europe. In chemicals, the EU plans to add 34 new substances to the prior informed consent regulation by October 2026, requiring strict export notification procedures. In the UK, Parliament published a report recommending a roadmap for implementing the UK-US Pharmaceutical Agreement, with the UK government also releasing a policy paper on its approach to deforestation, alongside a new defense investment plan that increases defense spending by $15 billion and creates a new $50 million defense export facility. Digitally, the first digital ATA carnet has been processed in the UK for Jaguar Land Rover, following the rollout of digital carnets across the UK, EU, Switzerland, and Norway. Looking at global free trade agreements, the European Council is considering proposals for a comprehensive economic partnership agreement and an investment protection agreement with Indonesia. In parallel, FTA states and Vietnam announced the conclusion of negotiations of a modern free trade agreement. Further abroad, India issued detailed rules of origin determination under the India-UK CETA, which takes effect on the 15th of July. Finally, Canada ratified the UK's accession to the CPTPP, entering into force from the 1st of September 2026. At the World Trade Organization, reform discussions have restarted under the General Counsel's authority. A framework document appointed 5 facilitators to lead parallel work streams on foundational issues, decision-making, development, level playing field, and new issues, building towards a possible ministerial midway review in 2027. Meanwhile, China has circulated a proposal arguing that the WTO should work to support trade and investment integration as a pathway to industrialization. Switzerland also shared a non-paper on flexible multilateralism, proposing flexible instruments, pace, platforms, and processes to overcome decision-making hurdles without undermining consensus at the WTO. In committee news, the informal working group on micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises held a thematic discussion on empowering small businesses through artificial intelligence and welcomed Ghana as its 106th member. The Committee on Sanitary and Phytosanitary Measures addressed a record number of trade concerns impacting food products and trade around the world. In trade remedies, the U.S. International Trade Commission determined it will maintain its 17.09% anti-dumping order on fresh tomatoes from Mexico and will issue an anti-dumping order on lattice boom crawler cranes from Japan. Finally, India initiated anti-dumping probes into 5 products from China and other nations, including carbon razor made from anthracite coal. That concludes this edition of This Week in Trade. See you next week.
Those are the headlines from This Week in Trade. To go deeper, check out more comprehensive breakdown of these and other developments on Georgia's LinkedIn. This is a new series we'll be looking to evolve and expand based on your feedback, refining what we're presenting, and adding new voices. Let us know in the comments below and via the contact form on GTP's website how we can make this a more relevant and useful accompaniment to your coffee.